This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast, episode 235. We're starting a brand new franchise. This is a two-film franchise. Continue our X-Men franchise spinoffs. We're going to tackle some Deadpool. We're going to do Deadpool from 2016. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
All right, Nate, how long has it been since you've seen Deadpool?
It's been a while. I think the last time I watched it was right before the second one came out, which I think was like 2018. So It's been like 5 years at least since I've seen it.
Yeah, well, for me, it was a one-off. I didn't go to the theater to see this. I purchased this, I believe, on Blu-ray when it came out. So, yeah, it was a one-time. Whenever that Blu-ray came out, so this is 16, gotta be 17, so a few years, a while ago. Long time ago. Kind of a first-time watch, pretty much, when I watched this film. But yeah, let's check out what the critics and audience have to say about Deadpool from 2016. Nate.
This thing is crazy high. On both. This has an 85% critic score and a 90% audience score. Not surprising to me. I remember when this came out. I remember the buzz about it when it came out. I remember I did see it at the theater. It was packed. Audience reacted well. So I'm not surprised that the scores are that high. No, it's not surprising to me.
I'm not shocked because this is a beloved character from everyone tells me. You go to Comic-Con, everyone's dressed like Deadpool, different variations of Deadpool in Comic-Con. So this is a beloved character. My friend Marcus that reads the damn thing, he says it's pretty accurate to the comic book with the whole fourth dimensional and all that. So again, kudos to the studio for making this type of movie. I mean, it's rated R, I believe, this film.
Very.
yeah, it's a very rated R film. So again, not shocking there, but it's actually pretty good scores across the board. Well, let's start it all off. Ryan Reynolds, lead character, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
All right, so there's a couple of things here, just really quick. Number one, it's accurate. It's comic book accurate, and not just comic book accurate, it's like everything accurate. Like if you've played a Deadpool video game or seen him in a cartoon, or I remember one of my first exposures to him was in this Marvel vs. Capcom fighting game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Deadpool was in it, and he does this crap. He like talks to the camera, he does like all this stuff, so it's very accurate, way more than in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's number one. Number two, your mileage with this character will vary, to me, in my opinion. It will vary on the amount that you like Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds, as an actor, he nails the role. He nails it. That being said, it's pretty much his style of humor, and that doesn't always work for people. So I can honestly see people finding the character maybe a little grating. I mean, obviously 90% liked it, but I can understand that 10% kind of being like, he's not my cup of tea. For me, he works perfect. I think I wouldn't say I'm like a huge Ryan Reynolds fan, but I like him here and there. He could be hit or miss for me. In this one, I think he hits the right tone. He has the right style of humor, the right voice. Obviously, he has the look. He's in great shape. He's always been in great shape. It's been one of his things, So physically, he fits the role perfectly. I think they nailed it. If you want to talk about an accurate comic book adaptation from page to screen, this has got to be up there with like one of the best interpretations. Even to the detail of the mask having the white eyes, which is very much like a comic book thing, right? They don't have, and every movie, you can attest to this. I can attest to this. We have seen so many comic book movies. Every movie does not do that. You can always see their eyes. There's always some cutout. Look at Batman on comics. It's white, right? In the cartoons, it's white. In real life, he has like the mask and you can see his eyeballs. This was like the first time and maybe the only time to this point still that I remember where the eyes look like in the comic book pretty much. So I think they nailed the character. I think he's great. Just to speak on the character before I let you go, I like his story. He's a piece of crap pretty much. His nickname is the Merc with the mouth. Like he's a mercenary. You pay him money, he will do jobs. He falls in love with this girl. It affects him. I like the love story between the two of them. I think they have really good chemistry. They're both kind of like horrible people who just happen to meet. I give him a 5. I like the character of Deadpool, and I'm fine with Ryan Reynolds.
When it comes to the character, I agree. He, watching it today, yes, he is Deadpool. Yes, he is all that. whatever. My problem is that I don't like fourth dimensional characters. I'm being 100% honest.
Fourth wall breaker.
Yes, the full bro. If you start talking to the camera, I am not with it. And especially, I'm okay with it if it's sprinkled throughout, like in Enola Holmes. When she does it, she talks a little bit, but then it goes right back to the movie when you see it. This is straight up the whole time he is talking to the camera. And I'm just like, oh, this, and for me, it takes me away. The jokes, way too much jokes. But again, this is the character. I'm not into the Deadpool character much. So for me, watching it today, I was just like, oh boy, like now I understand why I didn't go back and watch this movie at all. I do agree with you. Ryan Reynolds, the problem with Ryan Reynolds is he's a phenomenal actor, but he's one-dimensional. Because when you see him after this movie, I was like, damn. I remember watching another Netflix movie that he did called Six Underground or something.
Yeah.
And I stopped watching it 10 minutes in because it just was another Wade Wilson character. And then I started to think of Deadpool every time he spoke or he said a joke. And I was just like, man, this is going to be hard for me to take away that character from him because that's what he does. He does a sarcastic, talkbacks and jokes and snapping at someone. In terms of the character, yeah, he's action-packed. Yeah, that's great. I mean, we're breaking him down in these categories. But in terms of the character, I gave him a 4 for great. I thought he was a great character. For me, it's not perfect because I just couldn't connect with the character. I'm not a Deadpool fan, and it was hard for me to connect with that type of superhero. So for me, I gave him a 4. He was great. But let's get into the main villain, which was Ajax, Ed Circus, or whatever.
Ed Screen. Screen. I don't know how to say this. I've never known how to say this guy. This is our second movie with him, by the way. Remember, he was the rebooted version of the Transporter when we watched that. And he's no Jason Statham. And you know what else he's not? Charismatic at all. I never liked this guy. I don't know how he got so many roles, to be honest. I didn't like him when he was on Game of Thrones. When they replaced him with that other guy was better than him. You don't even remember him on Game of Thrones because he's unmemorable, because he just does nothing. I remember he left that show because he started getting movie roles, and he's bland in every movie. Now, I know we're not scoring the acting. We're scoring the character. But the character is also pretty bland. He is a bad guy who he can't feel pain. That's his mutation. So his whole thing is he can take people, inject some crap in them, subject them to a bunch of pain up until the point where they mutate somehow. And then whatever their mutation is, that's what it is. In Deadpool's case, he gets healing factor. That's always been his whole thing in the comics and everything. It's kind of like Wolverine in that. His power or his mutation is that he can't feel pain. All his nerve endings are fried, so nothing hurts him. Okay, great. Nothing hurts you. That's your power. Nothing hurts you. So you could be in a fight. You could be horrible at fighting. You can get beat up, but you won't feel it. Now, he's not horrible at fighting. He fights him, I give him some credit because they do have that mano-a-mano fight up at the end where he has the 2 axes. It's pretty good. To me, he's just generic, though. He's not that great of a villain to me, but he's also not horrible. I fall right in the middle. I gave him a 3. He's a decent foil for Deadpool. I do like that, Deadpool's he's got a mission to get revenge on this guy for what he did. That's cool. But the character, he doesn't have any charisma, He don't got that. To me, for a villain to be great, you got to have some swag. You could be evil. You got to be either super evil or super evil and have a lot of swag. And this guy's not super evil, and he don't got no swag. He's swagless. I gave him a 3.
Dude, it's funny. We're there. I mean, the lead character we were there. I mean, we were point off, but close. It doesn't matter. Yeah. This one, we were dead on. I gave him a 3 for good. He is such a bland character. He was not I would have preferred the dude that played Sabretooth to be the guy.
Schreiber. See, he had tons of swag. See, that's the difference.
But you're right. He's not a good actor. And I think they could have hired somebody else to play that type of character. He was okay. He was a doctor, which I was like, really? Who he reminded me of? Because once he said his power, remember The World's Not Enough? Remember Renard?
Yeah.
He got the bullet stuck in his brain and he couldn't feel no pain.
Yeah, he had to drown him or something. That was the only way. In the end.
He stabbed him with the nuclear thing and his submarine and whatever. Anyway, he had those type of powers. He can't feel pain. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man, he's just like Renard from The World's Not Enough. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a villain, wouldn't you have one that's a better power to go up against Deadpool? Someone that can't feel pain. I'm just like, he got his ass whooped most of the time for someone that doesn't feel pain. Yeah, I mean, other than that, like the other mercenaries was cool. I thought Gina Carano was pretty good.
But she doesn't even talk. She barely talks. She has like 4 lines in the whole movie.
Well, that was one scene that I thought that was funny when Wade Wilson was like, he goes, you have the toothpick like Stallone and Cobra.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, okay. And then she punched the right Matt Hart in the face.
I like Gina Carano in this. She's fine, but she doesn't.
She was good.
Talk.
I think they should have made her the main villain. She has superpowers, super strength. So I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, look, in terms of the villain, you're absolutely, it's nothing outstanding, nothing that will go, wow, you need the X-Men to come in. Because honestly, Deadpool could have just did this without Colossus and the other girl, to be honest with you, in this film. I mean, I know we're going to talk about them in the storyline, but he really didn't need them. There was no other suit. And it's crazy, right? Because he injected all these people, but at the end of the film is mercenaries and no one with powers besides Gina Carano and Ajax to go up against him. So I think that
they all got blown up when he blew up that facility.
Oh, okay. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Up. He lived because he's got healing factor, but
yeah. Okay. Oh, well, anyway, I gave him a 3. I don't think he was memorable anyway, to be honest with you. He stunk. Yeah. But anyway, he was 3. He was good for the story.
He was fine.
All right. Yeah. Action scenes.
All right. So the action scenes in this, there's things I like a lot, and there's a couple things I'm not crazy with. Number one, quantity, not a ton, actually. Not a ton of action in this movie. From what I remember, I know we're going to do it next week, but from what I remember, Deadpool 2 has more action than this one, but I think it suffers from the same problem. So my problem with this, there's 2 set pieces, pretty much. You have the beginning one, when they're in the freeway, when he's in the car, and he's fighting all those guys, and then Colossus shows up, and then you have the end. And in the middle, honestly, this movie has a lot of story. It's a lot of talking, it's a comedy, it's like a romantic comedy almost, and then it's a superhero movie with some fights. I love the last fight. I think the finale is great. I like him and Ajax fighting on the roof. It's good. I like when he shoots all the people. Like, they nailed his movements, the jumping and spinning. He's like a ninja, pretty much. And I think they got that right. I like the fight with Colossus, and I think her name is Angel, Gina Carano's character. I like their fight, because she's super strong. He's super strong, but he's made of steel. But she could punch him, and he feels it, and he goes flying. And then, of course, you got Negasonic Teenage Warhead. That's the name of that girl with the short hair. I love that character. I think she's hilarious. She's just so dry and, like, unimpressed and young, But her power, she could, like, charge up like a bomb pretty much and explode. I love the finale. The first fight scene. Okay, I remember seeing that in the theater and thinking it was awesome. And rewatching it now, it's okay. Like, it's funny. It's got some funny parts, and it's brutal. Like, there's blood and guts. My problem is there's some parts where I couldn't tell what was going on. Like, it was so much CGI, like, guys rolling around, that I couldn't tell. It was happening too fast. It was too confined. And so I didn't love it as much this time. I still thought it was good. Outside of that, there's not a lot of action. It's really 2 big set pieces. I'm going to give it a 4 because I think it is good and I love the finale. But the first one, it looks way more CGI than I remember and rubbery. And I think that's in the second movie. I think there's a lot of that rubbery action, which we'll see. From what I remember, it's been 5 years, but a 4.
Yeah, her name is Angel Dust.
Angel Dust.
Carano.
Okay.
Yeah, Angel Dust. In terms of action, I gave it a 4 also. I thought it was great. I agree with you. It's not much action, and the CGI kind of turned me off. And him yapping throughout the whole fighting, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, you really don't shut up. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't engage with it. But yeah, he was talking throughout the whole thing. I like the practical. When he shoots the guys, those look all really cool. The brain splatter and he hits the floor. I was like, all right, those look all cool, but you're right. That scene in the SUV was not that good.
Action-wise, it's like more funny than it is like great action.
Yeah, I think that's what it was supposed to be, more humorous than action, because you're right. They're like rubber all over the place. Now, the ending sequence is not chaotic, but it was like not all over the place. It was more like, how much explosions can we throw into this movie? Because, like, once that nuclear girl blows the whole hangar and everything's falling off the damn thing, I'm like, okay, crazy set piece, because they're all fighting while it was falling. But I don't think, like, it didn't pay off. It reminded me of, like, the A-Team movie. Oh, yeah. Remember when they blow off the cargo boat? Yeah. It was just like so much CGI shit flying everywhere. And you're
CGI
like, whoa.
Fire, CGI crates, CGI everything.
It reminded me of that. Now, the scenes with Colossus, I'm going to be honest with you. Besides Colossus and X-Men 2, which I thought was pretty good, but they didn't utilize him much, this one was good. I thought he was cool. I liked him. I thought it was cool. The nuclear warhead chick, whatever.
Megasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah, Panasonic Teenage Warhead. I thought
Panasonic.
I thought she was cool, but you're right. She was very dry toast. She didn't have much acting, but you know what? She got paid good because I was like, you know what? You did a good job. I thought, to be honest, I thought those characters were great, but I like Colossus. Man, I wish they brought that type of Colossus into the movies, which I hope they do. I think they will.
CGI. He doesn't need to be a man.
Although it was the voice.
Yeah, but I think he can, like, well, in the original X-Men movies, he's a guy who could turn metal. I don't know if that's how he is in the comics or if he's permanently metal, but I'm okay with him being permanently metal if they do it like this.
I think I could be wrong, but I think something happens to him that he stays that form. In X-Men 1, I think he learns how to like go on and off, and then something happens and he just stays it. I don't know. I'm not a Colossus
expert.
Yeah, I'm not a whatever. It is what it is. But either one was cool, though. When he turned into the metal, I was like, oh, shit, in the theater. But this one, I was just like, yo, he's actually pretty good. I like when Gina Carano's boob came out. He was like, whoa, whoa. And she goes, oh, you're so nice. But they covered up the camera, though, for her, if you notice, because he covered his hands.
Right There's no
boob.
Nudity there. And then she punches him in the balls, in the metal balls. And he's like, oh, in slow motion.
Oh, you little, you.
Yeah.
But no, look, all in all, I thought it was a 4. It was great action. I don't think it was a perfect action at all. And wasn't, I could be wrong. You might know this more than me. Didn't they leak out that highway scene?
So they didn't leak it. What happened was the director of this movie, Tim Miller, he started off in VFX as far as I know, and he made that scene in order to like convince the studio to let him direct the movie. So it was like he pre-did it ahead of time. He's like, I'm going to make it. They did it. They did all the CGI or whatever. And then in the movie, they redid it with like more of a budget and stuff like that. So it was like Tron. I don't know if you remember Tron Legacy. They had a clip of Tron Legacy at a Comic-Con before the movie was even made. And because Joseph Kosinski directed this fake scene with the bikes, with the light cycles. And then in the movie, they did like a much bigger version. So it was similar to that. It wasn't the opening scene, but it was another like a pre-version of it.
You know, so damn, that's all it takes. I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to
make something really cool and be like, look, I can make this. Look how cool this is.
Judge Dredd TV show.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I mean, you know what? To be honest with you, and you could do anything with green screen, bro. Anything. If you know what you're doing. I mean, if this guy did that and they gave him that job, I mean, he did a great job.
He had the right tone. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was a great tone for the movie. I haven't seen 2, to be really honest. I don't even remember it much, so it's gonna be a brand new watch. So I got to see where that goes.
Director.
But is it the same director?
No.
Oh, okay. So all right, good to talk about that. All right, next storyline.
I like the storyline in this movie. I like this movie. Let me said, obviously my scores are pretty good except villain. Ajax is the only part of this movie that I don't really care for. Like I said, I like Ryan Reynolds' humor in this movie. I've liked him in a lot of movies. Like I love Just Friends. That's like one of my favorite like Christmas kind of like a rom-com, but whatever. It's like a Christmas movie. I love Just Friends. I loved him in Van Wilder back when I was younger. So I've enjoyed Ryan Reynolds. So I like him. This movie makes me laugh. I do think there's some really good jokes. I like TJ Miller in this as the bartender. And overall, I like the storyline. You know, you got the guy. He's horrible. He meets this girl. They have a montage of doing it on all the holidays. It's funny. You're like, okay, this, it's pretty sweet for as gross as they are. Gross. They're gorgeous, but, they're dirty. And then, he gets cancer, like all kinds of cancer all over that's really bad. He signs up for this program. They promise him that they can cure it, but the cure leaves him horribly disfigured and ugly. He's too embarrassed to be with the girl, so they separate. And I like it. I think, too, they did a good job. Like, this movie moves quick. Like, the first 40 minutes... It's all that highway scene intercut with backstory. Like that highway scene goes till about half the movie. And then the second half of the movie, he's just trying to find Ajax and get him. And that's it. So it's simple. It moves quick. Great pacing, mostly good jokes. Most of them land. I give it a 4. I still don't think it's perfect, but I give it a 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. I thought it was good. I mean, for me, you're more of a fan of this character than I am.
Your mileage will vary for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was starting to tap out throughout, like towards the end of the movie, because it was just all the same jokes and talking to the cameras and all that. So for me, it was just like I was already tapping out. But in terms of the storyline, I do agree with you. It went super fast. I mean, I was like, holy crap! I stopped because someone knocked on the door. And when I stopped, it was 40 minutes in. And I said, holy shit, I thought I started the damn movie. And I was like, that's good pacing. To be really, for a superhero movie, super good pacing. You're right. I thought there was a lot of fun stuff. TJ Miller and him had great chemistry with each other. You're right. Her and, what's her name? Monica.
Morena Baccarin.
Oh, yeah. Morena as Vanessa.
Yeah.
So him and Vanessa, they had great chemistry there. I thought, Ryan Reynolds is good. I like them in The Proposal. There's movies I do enjoy him in that. But that's my favorite one of his, is The Proposal. I think that is one of the
Have you ever
fun,
seen Just Friends?
Oh, I have that movie. Yeah, that's another funny one. When he's so fat.
Good.
And
yeah,
in the
that movie's great. Amy
that
Smart and Anna Faris. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, that is a good one.
And he's in New Jersey. He's right up the street from you.
Yeah, that's right. I did like that one. Yeah. Anna Faris is the rock star, right?
She's crazy. Yeah. She's like a psycho.
Yeah.
Comedy Guys movie podcast coming soon. Just Friends.
First episode.
Yeah.
No, but I did enjoy, like, he's good with that stuff. Look, all in all, the storyline it's actually good or great. Depending, like Nate says, depending on which way you go with this movie, it's not horrible and it's not even decent. It's actually really good, decent to great to whoever
it could be perfect for some.
Yeah.
If they're just diehard Deadpool fans, if you're like a diehard Deadpool, I think you'll give it a 5. I'm not, so it's a 4 for me.
Yeah, or even not. You might give it a 2 or 1, depending on your taste. But with that said, I gave it a 2. I gave it a 3. You gave it a 4 overall.
My overall score is also a 4. I think it's a really good movie. It's fun. It's super entertaining. Every score you've given so far, I totally understand because, again, it is a lot of jokes. Now, this reminds me of a movie that I love that you didn't quite jive with, which is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're similar, like overall, because they're very different, but they're similar in that every single scene, pretty much almost every other line at least is like a joke, right? So like they are very, very comedic. They are not like Deadpool. There's maybe 1 or 2 scenes where there's not a joke, and it's like when the lab catches on fire, like that scene's pretty serious. Literally, other than that, there's always a joke in every single moment. So Scott Pilgrim is the same way. It's like a joke a minute, like literally just rapid fire. So if that's not your cup of tea, I could see this being like, oh, it's still good. I respect elements of it, but maybe not. For me, it mostly works. Like I said, I think the jokes mostly hit. I don't laugh at all of them. I love when he has the tiny hand. That part always makes me crack up when he cuts his hand off and he goes to touch the lady's face and his hand is like super tiny.
Yeah, like a doll.
Yeah. I think he said it's like a spork or something like that. I don't know. It's like really small. That part makes me laugh. But yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's a fun movie. I don't think it's the earth-shattering. I remember when it came out and people were losing their mind. I don't think it's that. But I do respect it. It did. You got to call it what it is. It opened the door for the R-rated comic book, like the big successful R-rated comic book. Logan doesn't happen if Deadpool flops. It doesn't happen. This movie came out before Logan, same studio, rated R, hard R, and it made a ton of money. And they said, okay, now we could do Logan the way we want to do it. If this failed, that movie, it would still exist, but it would not be the version that we saw. So I respect it. I think it's really good. It's fun. A 4.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of maybe because I feel like with Wolverine, even if they would have gave it a R rated, people would have flocked to the theater to see it because everyone knows that type of comic book is rated R.
But my point is, they would not have made it. They wouldn't have sunk that money into it because there's no proof that it would succeed. This proved that it would succeed with the rating. That's what I mean. It would have been great no matter what because it's Logan clearly is R and is great. So I don't think it would have been better or worse, but I don't think the studio wouldn't have done it if Deadpool didn't make hundreds of millions that it made.
Yeah, maybe. Never know. Overall, I gave it a 3. I thought it was a good film. Overall, it's a good film. If you were into this thing, I'm not into the jokes. I'm not into the fourth dimension. Look, to the point I didn't even like Birds of Prey because she did the same type of thing. And to me, it reminded me of a Deadpool female because she was talking in front of the camera and I was just like, oh, here we go. Like that took me out of the movie in general. But in terms of Deadpool, it did work for some people. For myself, like I said, I tapped out close to the 40 to 50 minute mark. I was just like, okay, I'm pretty much done with the jokes already. Kind of started to become repetitive if you really think about it. But in all the storylines when it was getting serious, him and the cancer, I thought that all worked well. And I like the way they told his origin, to be honest with you. I thought it was very unique way. It was during the action scenes. They paused that, then they rewinded back. So I gave it a lot of credit for that because there's not a lot of movies that do stop an action sequence to go all the way back to the beginning of how that person became the person they did, and then bring it back and then jack it back and then ends it and then continue going. So I give it a lot of credit in that. That was a lot of creativity in that point. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a good movie. It was solid and it was a good film. Total points.
By the way, written, of course, by the writing duo of Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. Now, Alex, I don't know if you're just by name, you may not be familiar with them, but some of the other movies they wrote, Zombieland, which is very comedic. Like this is
the
kind
first
of in
one
there.
or the second one?
They wrote both of them, Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap.
I never seen Double Tap, but okay.
Yeah, it's also funny. And then they, of course, wrote G.I. Joe Retaliation. So the second one, the better one, pretty much. The one with
it
the
was
Rock.
good, but they killed Duke. That pissed me off.
The Ninja Mountain one. And then they also have wrote some other Ryan Reynolds movies. So they did write Deadpool 2. They wrote that Six Underground movie that you had mentioned. And the movie Life, the space one, with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal.
I like that movie.
So they're good. They've made movies that are good. You may not love all of them, but you might pick and choose what you like.
I like that movie. That movie Life was it wasn't creative, but I gotta watch it again. Good. But yeah, it was a decent film, like a sci-fi. It was like
sci-fi
an aliens
horror
movie to me.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool.
20 out of 25 is my total.
20 out of 25 for me is let's see, we got 17 out of a 25. So yeah. So all right, Nate, what is coming up next on the podcast?
Right. Next episode. This is one I've been waiting all my life to do. Next episode, we're wrapping up Martial Arts Month with an 80s film called The Last Dragon. This is a first-time watch for me. Not first-time watch for Alex, but I think a first in a long time watch for Alex. And then next week, we wrap up our X-Men spin-off section before we get into something I'm excited about, which is going to be Deadpool 2, written by the same writers, directed by John Wick 1 co-director David Leitch. So very different. You're going to see it's very different. But of course, Atomic Blonde, Bullet Train, Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, and John Wick 1. So that's what we're going to be covering next week.
All right, so there you have it, guys. If you guys want to follow us on our social media accounts, please follow Nate over on Instagram at Netflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friends called Netflix Movie Reviews. Anything Action Movie Guys, head over to youtube.com/Geeks and Flakes for the video version of the podcast, or head over to our Instagram account at Action Movie Guys Podcast. Other than that, I'm your host, Alex Figueroa, and he is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
Be awesome to each other and geek out.